G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. We are here on Dry Arabia to witness the final rounds of EGC TV's The Elite Classic, spawning in the north side of the map, representing Team Elephant. Playing as the Malians in the colour red, it's Louis MT. And on the south side of the map in the colour blue, playing as Joan of Arc, it's Wham01. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a casted game. It is a pleasure to have your company here today as we begin to witness the very final end of this event. It's slowly but steadily happening. We've got one more weekend that's going to be ahead of us. That'll be next weekend. I'm looking forward to it because I'm actually going to be casting it. I'll be there for the grand final, and I think it might be the third place match as well, because the semi-finals are going to be happening next Saturday. If you didn't watch this weekend, that's okay. Don't worry. You've missed a lot, but the real action is going to be beginning next weekend. So 2 semi-finals, and then of course it's going to be. Oh, look at this! Don't you love this when this happens? Now Wham is in a bit of an awkward spot because he's got to make a decision. Which way do I go? And it's interesting that he's now deciding to try and split the map here, coming back across the face of his base. Well, right on board with him here, just as we see him moving across his own base, hoping to be able to beat his opponent there, but it definitely feels a bit awkward when you spot the scout so close to your base, because now all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my god, how many sheep of those were mine? Because when the map distributes sheep, it's meant to do it the following way. You're meant to have 3 sheep in your base, so all of them under your town center, and then you're meant to have, I think it's like 5 groups of 2 out in the map, maybe 6 groups of 2, something like that. And then you're meant to have about 4 to 5 sheep around your town center. I'm not sure if the algorithm has changed. It probably has. You know, it's something that the devs, I know Biddlin in particular, who works behind the scenes, he is always looking to keep that updated. I don't know if algorithm's the right term. Algorithm's probably not the right term. I feel like algorithm's reactive, whereas this is, I mean, it's probably still technically an algorithm, but I guess the formula, maybe we can just go with that. The formula for putting down those sheep, trying to make it as fair as possible. It works in a bit of a weird way. I remember him explaining it to me. He's like, so it basically takes the map and puts it into quarters, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it's complex. Just know that it's never a good thing when you see the enemy scout so close to your base. And now we can see that Wham has realized, well, if he's over in my base, there's a good chance he hasn't taken too many sheep in his own base, and that's where he goes. And he manages to pick up 3 sheep over there. Keep in mind, Louis, though, he's got 11 sheep. We're at 2 minutes 45. Hold on, Louis. Are you going to run out of sheep? I think, does Louis run out of sheep here? He may have calculated this, but there's not going to be a lot of food left on these. Wait, how does he have 135 on this sheep still? Is he just not gathering much food? Maybe that's the case. He knows this timing well. Perhaps he sent back a 4th sheep, but even then, if he sent back... I feel like there's another sheep under here. You guys see that? Yeah, look at the direction. He's got to have sent back a 4th sheep. There's no way. You can't make it to 3 minutes with this. It's not possible, right? Because you get 750 food out of the 3 sheep, 400 to age up, which leaves 350, which is 7 villages. 7 villages. It's going to take you a little bit over 2 minutes to do it, so you would have gone idle by now for sure. So, all right. There you go. He found a sheep. He sent it back. And that gives him all of this time in the world. And he knows it. I mean, look at this. He's just out here on the map having a good time. Once again, Wham is going to see the scout and go, gosh, he's got so many sheep, dude. 11 sheep following. Age-ups are coming through. It's going to be the Mansa Quarry. He's going to keep it on gold for the moment, beginning to move out over onto the berries. Now, keep in mind, Wham is playing Joan of Arc, so we're going to be taking a look at her and seeing how she's doing. You'll be able to track her experience down here in the bottom left-hand corner. We're not going to be tracking the Malian cows today because I'm only using 2 computers. I'm not using 3 computers, which means that we'd have to swap over to, you know, Louis and then check his cow count there. Whereas here, we're just going to follow Joan because it's probably a bit more important than following on with that. But have a look at this. Look at the way that Joan has now got her command set up here. We can see the 2nd villager. I think there's a bit of an accident here from Wham. He's also rallied to help out here, looking to try and get the house down, and then going to be following it up with the lumber camp as well. We see the vills moving out here, but villager going to be helping out here. Just a little bit. Also going to be throwing down the mining camp on the front, so 2nd TC going to be coming up here for him. Wheelbarrows in queue, 1 knight as well. I love this opening. I think this is probably one of the best openings that you can go for as Joan of Arc. Just a 1 or 2 knight opening, and we can see he's got the single villager on gold, so maybe looking to trickle in upgrades as they come through. But there she is now, Joan, very, very close, just before that 5-minute mark, looking to pick up that XP. Probably going to be moving into the hunter here. We've seen her do that time and time again in this event. So, slowly and steadily, though, the knight makes its way across the map. towards that north side. Walls are beginning to come up. We don't see any barracks, actually. I take it back. We do see a barracks that's thrown down here by Louis. He's going to be rallying out towards this wood line in the north, or rather this wall line in the north. The scout for Wham, I'm not sure whether he's spotted this one out, but we can suspect from the direction that the knight is coming through here that it is not going to be the case. And have a look at this. Instead of opting for the archer or the hunter, we see the woman at arms. And I think this is where you know that the devs have done a great job of getting the balance just right. You know, when the Conqueror 3 caster can't successfully predict which direction the Joan of Arc is going to go, you've done a pretty decent job with it. So hats off to the devs. We've got the Donzo here, going to be... look at that, dude. That's so weird. But, do you want to know what that is? Okay, because I don't know if you picked that up. The Royal Knight manages to charge the hardened Donzo at point-blank range. And you're probably looking at that going, that's a bug. And that was my first instinct as well, but it's not. It's not a bug. So what he does is basically he runs up to the Donzo, right-clicking up to the Donzo, and that's not going to trigger the brace for the Donzo because he's just walking up to the Donzo. He's not actually charging it. And then what he's going to do is he's going to right-click that villager that was on the backside. And by doing that, what he's going to do is he's going to charge that villager because there's a minimum distance that you can have on your charge. Remember that. So you can only charge at a specific distance. That might be, say, 400 units. If you think about an archer as being, what is it, 5 range, then think about like the minimum charge distance as 4 range. And what happens there with that charge is that it immediately triggers, but there's a little bit of time that it takes for the Donzos to brace, and that's intentional. That's so you don't bug them out, because then you can just keep charging and charging and charging. The players at the top level used to do it all the time, and it was so damn annoying watching. You try and move your spears to protect your villagers building the Barbican, and your opponent would just keep charging, and your spears would never move up, and then the rest of the knights would come in. That was infuriating when that happened. So it's intentional, but the consequence of that is that you can exploit it, and that's exactly what we see Wham doing. Looks like he might pick up our villager here. No, beautiful micro from Louis. Keeps the villager alive. Very, very nicely done here. Donzo's once again going to be coming out here looking to chase. And we see the Sofa Warrior coming out from Louis already, looking to get into those counters nice and early. Now, keep in mind, Wham does have that second town center already up. The economies are even Stevens at this stage of the game, but naturally, the economies will now start to boom, or at least for our French player. Rather, our Joan of Arc player. You know what? I'm kind of tempted just to call it the French player. Like, these two civilizations are pretty much identical, with the exception of, like, the win rates. Joan of Arc's on, what, like 54%, and then the French are on, like, 41% or something silly? How is it that different? I genuinely don't understand how the French are so much lower than Joan of Arc. Is Joan just all that? She's all that in a bag of chips. Where is that from? All that in a bag of chips. I don't know where that's from. I feel like that's probably something personal that I've experienced in life rather than something I've watched on TV. I'm gonna have to Google it now. And I'm hoping I'm not outing myself. It's like it's from like Gossip Girl. Could you imagine? Oh man, I don't think I've watched Gossip Girl, XOXO, but if I had, look, surely people would know. We'll say that much. How do I know that stuff, man? That's wild. It's kind of funny how, like, the stuff in your brain just sits there until one day it just pops up. You know what I mean? I don't mean that in like a... It sounds pretty dumb when I say it, but there is just so much sitting there in that brain that you're just not using until all of a sudden you need to draw the Superman S, and then you just poo, 6 lines, done. Done. Superman S, it's down. Where did I even... where was that? Like, what part of the brain was that one in? Anyway, Wall's coming up now on the south side. It's going to be Wham 01 trying his best to get this up. Unfortunately for him, there are units in the fog. He's already got the blocker down. Look at this. Louis just knows exactly what is up here. Donzo's to the bottom side. Sofa to the top side. Royal Knight's going to try and stop it, but he should be... Yeah, he gets away there. Wall's also coming up on the north side, so both players looking to move into walls. You know what I smell when I smell walls for both players? I smell fast Imperials. That's whenever I see someone walling up when I'm playing the Chinese, I'm like, okay, sure, we can meet in Imperial Age. That's fine by me. Like, I'm playing the Chinese, bro. Go for it. Like, wall up like crazy, dude. Oh, I love it. And I feel like that's what's happening here, because Louis got a pretty insane economy when you think about it. And there's two things he can do with this. Number one is with his cows, he can look to invest that gold into units like the Sofa Warrior, or number two, he can look to invest that into things like aging up. So we'll see how he goes about it. Joan of Arc coming forward, a little bit of XP picked up here, nothing too crazy, still no level 3. And you got to remember that with Joan, she loves to fight early on, but in the late game, she does excel. So I think a big part of this is going to be about how quickly can Joan get her level 4 in, and how well is Wham going to be able to utilize it. I feel like one of the things that's underutilized with Joan is just using her on the flanks. Say you've got a big stone wall up over on this top side, just bring Joan over here, pop her ability, get that cannon rolling over here with a couple men at arms. That's so annoying to deal with, because now all of a sudden I've got to allocate resources out there, and I have to address that problem. So we'll wait and see whether Wham looks to utilize that sort of thing. But we'll check in on the cow count. At the moment, we can see it's going to be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16 cows technically, as 4 of them all move over to that same spot. And we got armies beginning to move in on that bottom side as the Grand Fulani Corral, aka the Big Cow Landmark, is now coming up for Louis MT. He's managed to find the resources to do it on the other side of the map, though. It looks like Wham might be thinking about going Castle Age as well. More cows. You've got to be careful with these cows. These are vulnerable individuals. And look at this once again. I love Wham just walking through the base, a little bit like an AI. I'm going to say that right now. One of the world's best players currently walking through the opponent's base like an AI. Wait, but the building's already placed, so I don't feel like it's that punishing. What happens if now you just finish building the building? Like, do the cows just... He's gonna go eat... No, he's not even gonna... The cows just sit there. That's free real estate, dude. I'll take that. Absolutely fine. Grand Fulani Corral still coming up. Keep in mind, Wham working towards that castle age. It's a slow and steady push. The numbers here not the best for Louis on the defense. How does he look to hold this? I guess realistically, it's not a huge issue for the moment. No archery range up just yet, so no javelin throwers. They're not going to be on the cards. And they're definitely something that you can look to in situations like this, because they're able to pick apart those archer lines ever so slowly. Meanwhile, towards the top side, it looks... Oh, there's so many villagers up here, actually. Does Wham know about the villagers? There's no scout with his army, so he's not really going to be confident that there's villagers behind there, but I suspect he just wants the pit mine. You know, it's nice and easy to grab. And villagers now going to be on the run here. Louis going to have to think twice about getting that wall up towards the front. Might be a good idea. Doesn't really have a lot of resources in the bank, though, so it's going to be awkward. Could potentially move over towards this west side as well. He does have more units over there, but we'll just keep an eye on that army as it begins to move away now. You can see down in that bottom left-hand corner that army is indeed evacuating from the main base, and he's going to head back. Castle Age is on the way for him. It's going to be the Grand Fulani Corral that is completed in the base of Louis. Meanwhile, on the south side of the map, in the back of the Joan of Arc base, we have got ourselves plenty, and I say plenty, of villagers building this right here. Have a look at this guild hall. We got 18 villagers on it. Let's check in with the main base and see how things are doing up towards that top side, though. Let's focus and see exactly what is happening. So we've got plenty of units still looming, looking for a way through here. Now, when it comes to unit compositions, I'm curious to see exactly which way Louis MT plays this, because the most common feudal composition that we see, which we obviously hadn't seen today or haven't seen today, is Javelin Donzo. It's a notoriously good combo, but it doesn't really make sense going up against a melee Joan of Arc like this. The Sofa Warrior makes a lot more sense, just simply because you can chase her down and you can make sure that she is punished. Whereas in this situation, you know, not seeing that, the Sofa Warrior is obviously the main strong unit that the Malians have gotten. I think the best complement to that is going to be the Archer. So looking to utilize the Archer in the Castle Age. My one fear is, though, if things do go Imperial, which I suspect they will here, I'm curious to see how Louis is going to look to try and play with regard to composition, because the Archer for the Malians does fall off in the Imperial Age. It's not the best unit, because it just doesn't pick up the same level of upgrades as pretty much every other civilization gets. In fact, every other civilization gets, just because they do spike a little bit in the Castle Age, and subsequently they drop off in the Imperial Age, which just... That's how they balance them, right? They say you can be slightly stronger in the Castle Age, as long as you're slightly weaker in the Imperial Age, which definitely makes sense. At the moment, Joan sitting at about 66% on that XP in the bottom left-hand corner. Let's do a quick stock take and see exactly where these incomes are at. 70, I'll give it 1,800, 2,300, 2,700, 2,800-ish for Louis. So 2,800 total resources compared on the other side to, we've got about 1,100, 1,800. So how does Wham have so fewer resources coming through to him every minute? What's going on back here? Is it because he was building the landmark? Perhaps that's the reason why. He had a lot of villagers that were idle from that. So maybe we'll give him a little bit of time. It will pick up. But at the moment, Louis appears to have a significant advantage when it comes to the economy. And don't be fooled by this. At the top of your screen, you'll be looking at that and saying, but he's got 20 less villagers. Yeah, that's true. He's got 20 less villagers. But he's also got 3 pit mines, which are pumping out resources. Have a look at this, 100, 200 resources coming through every single time, or every single pit mine. And then on top of that, he's also got the cows, which are just pumping. It says 86 a minute, but don't be fooled by that. That's not true. It's significantly greater than that because there's also the Grand Fulani Corral in play, which is also going to be pumping. And we can see that Louis got 6 villages on food, and yet he's got 1,400 food a minute. Those are some very efficient villages. No, they are not. Those are some very efficient cows. That is the key difference here. It's those cows. But Joan now going to be picking up some sacred sites. I wonder, does Joan actually get experience from capturing sacred sites? I don't know if she does, but I feel like she definitely should if she doesn't. We'll check in with her because she's going to be looking to try and capture that third one up. It definitely makes sense. Obviously not going for a sacred victory, but just looking to pick up those resources nice and early. And speaking of picking up resources, we do have our first relic that has been picked up by Louis MT. He's now walking back with it into the mosque. The Imam coming back. It looks like he's gone for his safe relic because I do still see 3 relics out here on the map that are all contested. And we can see we've got a little bit of patrol routes coming through on each of these relics, just making sure that they are going to be a-okay. But once again, down towards that south side, Louis is just being very, very naughty. Very, very annoying. It's going to be chased away from the scene. But looks like we will have some spears down here that will unfortunately get caught off guard. Plenty more spears coming through. Veterancy has come in. They've got weird little weapons, these French spears, don't they? They look a little bit strange. I mean, you can definitely tell they're veteran spears, but it doesn't look like a spear. It kind of looks like, you know, when it comes to weapons, how, you know, there's a weapon, a bladed weapon, and you're like, that's a sword, and someone's like, that's not a sword, that's a katana. You're like, okay, but what's the difference? And it's like, oh, well, the difference is very clear. It's in the handle. It's like, okay, I apologize, sorry. And then you say something else, and I guess the point I'm trying to make is there are such minute differences in weapons, and yet we still give them different names. But I guess in reality, like the difference in something like a handle could really change the way a blade is handled. Hence the name handle. Anyway, where's Joan? Let's check in and see if we can find her. Looks like she is in the main army, level 3. Still not here just yet, but I don't think it's in Wham's plans to really be pushing Joan, and I think that's interesting, right? Because there are 2 ways that you can play it. You can look to try and push Joan, stay in the feudal age, or you can play a little bit more passive and then play for that late game. And I think that's where she really shines because there are a number of bonuses that do really push the power of Joan and push the power of her army. I don't think we're going to be able to see it here. I'm going to try and click on her. Yeah, there's no way that we can really access that. Is that unless we went into like the options or something like that. The tech tree, then maybe we could see it. But the one I'm thinking of is the big attack speed bonus, which basically turns everything into English units. What is going on right here? Has he just right-clicked the wall and everyone's running towards it? How do you get into that formation, Louis? That's a cool formation. Normally when I do that, all my units walk out together. Relic, nice try. Monk's going to be able to pick this one up. Looks like it will be a 2-for-2. Wall attempt coming in. That's a lot of units. I don't think it's going to be up in time. He's trying his best to be quick, but unfortunately, the warrior scouts have made their way through. Plenty of spears here. We got Musofadi working together with those Sofa warriors. He's got 44 Musofadi, 25 Sofa warriors. Now looking to break inside the base. Keep in mind, Joan of Arc is not here. She's hit level 3 on that backside, but she wants to be in these fights because she needs to. She needs to pick up. Actually, that's 25 warrior scouts. I do apologize. And 7 Sofa warriors. So nowhere near as strong as what I thought it would be. But not able to get that re-wall up just yet. Plenty of spears. The Musofadi will do quite well in this situation. And Joan going to be looking to try and force these units away. We see the men-at-arms now going to be coming out. Meanwhile, Sofa warriors have somehow broken through on that south side. More warrior scouts coming in as well. And towards that front, we are going to see that the majority of the units are pushed away here. Joan's going to need to help out. There we go, throwing down that Divine Wrath. Needs to make sure she stays alive. Arbilatria numbers beginning to build. What happened to those warrior scouts? Well, it looks like they're going to be taking out villagers. Have a look at this. The worker count has dropped significantly here. 27 workers. Louis MT is looking to try and even up that villager count. Meanwhile, towards the front, we are holding, but Louis just with a really interesting Malian strategy here. Normally we see, big focus on the Sofa warrior, big focus on, the archer. Yet here, going into the warrior scouts is so smart because number 1, they are very quick. 1.88 movement speed. Number 2, they don't do a whole lot of damage, so you don't really want to treat them as a threat when it comes to your army. You just issue a couple of spears over there and they'll do the rest. The problem is they do pretty damn well against villagers. 11 damage is more than enough to cause problems. And with taking out 36 workers already in this game, Wham is now on the same villager count as Louis, but keep in mind that Louis has got a number of things that are pushing his economy forward. Number one is going to be these cows, which are buffed up by the Grand Fulani Corral. Number two, it's going to be these huge pit mines, 102 gold per minute, 102 gold per minute, 102 gold per minute. That's 300 gold a minute that is coming into his coffers, which is absolutely huge. And it just goes to show how important it is to maintain that that integrity of your walls. And one of the big parts for this is an overreaction by Wham to this pressure that was put down over on the southeast side. We saw that there were Sofa warriors down there, and naturally he had to send units to defend. The consequence of that was he sent too many, so it meant that he was unable to get back in time to make sure that this hole in the wall was safe. So I think Wham has definitely learned his lesson with regard to walls, but we do now start to see a landmark coming through. It's going to be Louis here. We did mention earlier that it could have been a fast Imperial strategy type of game, and I think Louis definitely found a decent position to go for Imperial here. Most importantly, that he actually managed to win those fights despite sending a decent portion of his military into the back of the enemy base to try and kill villagers. Now we start to see Louis. I feel like twice this game we've seen players playing like an AI. You know, first we saw it with Wham pushing up behind the back line here. He kind of looked like an AI. And now we see the same thing happening here for Louis, where he's just going to focus down this wall on the west side. And do you see how he's always going for the flank? Never mind, he's not going to be worried about that central location because Louis is forced back. Wham now manages to find a little bit of a distraction, Wallalol. Don't mind if I get distracted. Fort of the Huntress, he's going to have to put it down defensively. There she goes. I don't know where she is. She's somewhere. There she is. Okay, definitely suboptimal location here. You know, Louis really wanted that in the middle of the map, and that's a big win right there for Wham, because losing that gold is a really, really sour position for him. Fortunately for him, the other big gold is like right outside his walls. I don't know how that's even a balanced... I mean, I guess it's technically about the same distance. It's just that he's expanded in that direction, so it feels a lot closer. But once again, we've got the Fort of the Huntress that might be interrupted here. Have a look at Joan. We got ourselves a little bit of action on both sides of the map right now. Villagers going to be running in either direction. The landmark does eventually get up. Meanwhile, towards the south, he's going to look to focus the guild hall. If he gets it down, all those resources are just gone. And now, all of a sudden, you've got a real problem for Wham01. He's just lost 2,700 resources. Towards the south side, Joan, or towards the top side, Joan's actually going to get caught out. Have a look at this. The Fort of the Huntress able to take it out, trapped with nowhere to go. You know that she was calling for step, bro, but unfortunately today, it's just going to be an extra washing machine cycle that she's going to have to go through, as inevitably she will return cleaner and slightly meaner, I suspect, from the town center. Back towards that base, though. We've still got fights happening on either side. I don't even know why we're watching. We've got the little picture down the bottom. I apologize. We're just watching some villagers on the farms. Like, you know what? Like, bring that in, Drongo. Bring that. There you guys go. Now you got the real split screen action. We are finding out the good way how these players are getting their farms on. This is where the technology really, you know, this is where it shines. Farming. I like to see farming. You guys like to see farming. Let's get a bit more split screen, and there you go. How about that? I'll give you a little bit of that kind of split screen. That feels a little bit better. All right, Musofati cleaning up the archers and the arbaletier on the bot, but now we've got Joan. She's made a comeback. Meanwhile, towards that top side, it looks like we have had cleanups. So both players managing to find a safer base for each of them. Now, one thing to note is Louis lost a fair few villagers in that fight. Wham's managed to build his villager lead up to about 15. So it's been a very back and forth game, this game. And now, with Imperial Age coming through for Louis, expect to see Wham think about it as well. Now, keep in mind that he's got a very strong Imperial Age landmark. Of course, we're talking about the Red Palace. So he could definitely look to bring that up here. I feel like it's probably too aggressive, especially against the Malians. The reason why I say that is because the Malians have got so many melee units. And so if you go for aggression out here, you're going to have to try and reinforce, and you're just going to be constantly intercepted with those melee units. Whereas if you go for the White Tower here, Red Palace, sorry, you know, you guys get the point, right? Like color and then palace, or color and then tower, or color then castle. Anyway, you go for it here, you're going to secure like a fair bit of your defensive line. You also obviously defend the gold, somewhat the sacred site as well. So I think that might be the better spot, because if you do go for that middle position, which obviously is like the most amazing spot, my only fear is that you are just going to get repeatedly intercepted as you attempt to reinforce that position. And I think the other thing to note is that the Malians have no hesitation about building up that trebuchet number, just mainly because they have the population space to play with. The Malians love to go on off 1 TC and just play off 1 TC, which means they're going to be hitting that 130 villager cap a lot later than other civilizations, and because of that, they have the freedom to go into big trebuchet numbers, big sprinkled numbers, and they don't really get hurt by it. We do now start to see another raid coming in on this south side. Does a good job of cleaning it up. Needs to be careful towards that top side. And we can see immediately Wham is looking for those units. He knows that they're hovering out and about there. And ideally, I feel like at this point, maybe stone walls could make a lot of sense. Like, one of the things that I often talk about over on Patreon whenever I'm coaching over there, which if you'd like to check out, I'll leave a link in the description if you'd like to improve or see some coaching content, is number one is we want to wall our flanks with stone walls earlier than we wall the center. So we don't do that really, really early, but the reason why is simple. Our army wants to be in the middle, because if it's in the middle, it can pivot right, it can pivot left, and it makes it easier to defend. If our army's on the right side, then it's really hard to get over to the left side because it's so much further. So if we put a stone wall in this little segment here, what this is going to mean is that our army no longer has to come over here because it's not going to be challenged anymore because there's a stone wall there. I mean, you still might throw a battering ram in, but that gives you a little bit more time to actually deal with it and respond to that threat. When it comes to, say, this wall over here, this is a little bit harder to stone wall because you're talking about a big boy out here. So that is also another thing to consider. But it looks like the Red Palace will indeed be coming down. I didn't even see this one. Red Palace now coming down over on this gold. A little bit aggressive, I would say. I feel like you could be putting it back or down back over here. But even if you do that, then I guess you're probably going to be denied out by that tall outpost, though it doesn't look like the range makes it all the way. But villager count is starting to fall. And you can see now Wham has lost quite a few villagers here. We've got the elite warrior scouts rather coming through. 14 damage at the moment. Meanwhile, towards the front, man, I just want to say right now, Louis has been an absolute asshole when it comes to playing this game. It is so annoying dealing with these non-stop warrior scouts. And the thing is, they're so damn cheap. Like, if we go have a look at the stables right now, 120 for the sofa versus 90 for the warrior scout. And keep in mind, you got to pay gold as well for the sofa. Able to take down all of the warrior scouts here. The landmark is slowly but steadily coming up. We see 7 villagers on it. It's coming online. It's coming online, but it's taken its time. That is for sure. The economy or the economic difference between these guys is still really building at this stage. And I'm starting to worry for Wham because keep in mind, not only does Louis now have the significant military advantage, he's also got that economic lead by an absolute mile. What's happened to these villagers? Oh, he commanded them to repair the gate, but unfortunately the gate fell. Age-ups come through, and the Red Palace will be able to hold this gold down, but it doesn't really do much else for the moment. You know, whereas if you put the Red Palace here, I guess then all of a sudden you survive, but then it's only a matter of time until you die because you don't have gold control. So that's another factor to consider. They're now running inside the base. Once again, the Warrior Scout. This is the hero of this game for sure. This unit, typically considered by many to be a weak unit. We don't really see it often used. It is being used to perfection. We are seeing the beginnings of a new Malian meta. I can confirm it right now. You know, as the #1 arbiter, or yeah, I think arbiter is probably a good term, of meta and meta shifts. That's a meme, by the way, guys. We are seeing it, and this is just such an annoying combo to deal with. Like, it's literally just Musofati and Warrior Scouts, and the Musofati are just fighting against everything, and the Warrior Scouts are just being annoying. He's just running them around. He's now got the villager lead, Louis MT does. Still got this Red Palace alive, but expect to see bombards, probably not bombards, probably trebuchets or something looking towards that position. And never mind, bombards are out, but they're just going to be focusing down the middle instead. Have a look at this. And the game gets called, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it. Louis MT victorious here up against Wham01. All right, well, this is going to be the last EGC TV game I bring you guys from this event. Make sure you go check them out this coming weekend, 15 GMT, Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to be over there casting, and I want to see you there as well.